Should the Chicago Bears fire head coach Matt Eberflus? That is the question of the day here on Bears Now. So weigh in, Bears fans. Type F for yes, they should fire him, or type K for no, they should keep him at least for now, because coming up on today's show, some Matt Eberflus replacements for 2024 if they decide to fire their head coach. I'm Harrison Graham. You're watching Bears Now. Is Matt Eberflus on the hot seat? It's hard to know for sure. I think he should be. Whether or not he is, that is up to the people in the building to decide. Kevin Warren, Ryan Poles, etc. But he absolutely should be. The Bears are off to an 0-3 start after just a drubbing at Arrowhead Stadium yesterday. 41-10 loss to the Chiefs to fall to 0-3. And at this exact moment, they hold the number one pick in the draft for a second straight season. Sure, that's fun, but that's not where you want to be this year. Here's why I think Flus should probably go. He's 3-17 as the head coach in Chicago. Worst winning percentage of any coach in franchise history. I get last year, rosters handicapped, whatever. No one anticipated not just starting 0-3 this year, but I think the way you play has to matter. They have not been competitive for the most part. They were kind of in that Bucs game, but to be honest, they got completely outplayed. You've lost 13 games in a row. That's brutal. And the team looks worse somehow this year than it did last year, despite roster upgrades. I get you've had some injuries, this and that. You should not look worse, though. The quarterback should not look worse. And you've lost, I mentioned 13 straight losses. That's 336 straight days without a win. That's hard to do. And by the way, the streak that we talked about last week, 12 losses in a row while giving up 25 or more points in each of those, no team's ever done it. Well, now they're the first team who's done it 13 games in a row. It's bad. I mean, it doesn't get much worse. Now, an optimist would say, well, you got Denver at home next week. You go to Washington Thursday Night Football. You could get to 2-3. And, yeah, maybe. You could also be 0-5. Like, who would pick the Bears right now? Think about this. The Chicago Bears are playing a team at home this week that lost by 50 and gave up 70 points to the Miami Dolphins. And they're still underdogs against that team. Denver is a 3-point favorite in your crib on Sunday. That's how bad the Bears are right now. So, while I don't think they're going to fire him right now, they would not have let him do his interview with ESPN 1000 this morning. I do wonder if 0-5 could lead to something, because you play two winnable games coming up. Denver's 0-3. They just gave up 70 points. Washington's 2-1, but they fell way back to earth this week. That's still a winnable game, at least on paper. You lose the next two, fall to 0-5, have 15 straight losses, and you've got a mini bye week coming up, 10 days off. You could make a move there. You could fire Matt Eberflus. You could fire Luke Getsy. You could do something. You have to do something. I think you should do something now, but I guess from a logistical standpoint, you could understand waiting until after that Thursday night game. You lose the next two. I don't know if you're recovering from that if you're Matt Eberflus. Subscribe to the channel, then we're going to dive into those coaching candidates here for next season if the Bears do fire Flus. Thank you guys so much for helping us cross 73,000 subscribers. I know times are tough right now being a Bears fan, but your support means the world. We're going to be here every single day regardless. Myself, producer Rolly, the entire Chat Sports gang has you covered. So hit that sub button. Let's get to 74,000 ASAP. All right, let's dive into some coaching candidates here. Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. And obviously, I think if you're going to hire someone, for the most part, I would prefer an offensive guy, especially if you're going to go the coordinator route again. Since Ben Johnson has taken over, he's made this Lions offense pretty damn good. Last year, they were number 4 in total offense, number 5 in scoring offense. This year, number 8 in total, number 13 in scoring. It's slightly down, but you're only 3 games in. The Lions are 2-1. They're playing good football. He's revitalized Jared Goff's career. His last year in L.A. and his first year in Detroit, it kind of looked like he was headed toward fringe starter territory where, like, yeah, he might start, but he's going to bounce around. Whereas I don't know if he's a franchise guy, but he's kind of played like it, right? I mean, 66%, over 5,200 yards in 20 games started, 4,400 last year in a full season, 34 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. He almost recently set the record for most attempts without an interception in NFL history. He didn't quite get there, but Jared Goff is playing arguably even better than he did under Sean McVay. That's how good Ben Johnson has been for this Lions offense. And what I want regardless, whether it's Justin Fields or whether it's a quarterback you draft and move forward with next year, hell, if it's a veteran, I really don't care. The Bears need a proven play caller with success in the NFL, even if it's not the head coach. Whoever's calling the plays next year needs to be someone who's done it before and had success. Luke Getsy's never called plays before. Yeah, let's bring him in because he was in Green Bay and it was so difficult being Aaron Rodgers' quarterback's coach. No, you got to bring in someone who's called plays before, whether it's as the head coach or the OC. That is what I want moving forward. All right, next up is Jim Harbaugh. Yes, the Michigan man, Jim Harbaugh. And I think the stars could potentially align here for both parties if they want this to. Harbaugh would be high on my list. Number one, he's had a lot of success. Number two, he played quarterback for the Chicago Bears. Number three, I actually think, depending on how the rest of this season goes for him at Michigan, it could be the perfect time for him to leave. He's got a national championship contender. If they can at least get to the national title game, he will have brought Michigan almost all the way back to the mountaintop. And quite frankly, I don't think he loves a lot of the BS you have to deal with at the college level. He had to do that self-imposed 3-game suspension. You got all this recruiting crap you have to deal with. And on top of all of that, there was a rumor in the last coaching search that now, as far as we know, there was not a formal interview, at least publicly. Like, there's a full list of who they interviewed. He was not on it. But there was a heavy rumor from, I believe, multiple sources saying that there was a phone call that took place. He was interested in the job, but he wanted a ton of money and he wanted roster control. Obviously, they hired Ryan Poles to be in charge of the roster, so they did not go down that route. But are you desperate enough to go down that route this time? Now, I don't know if you're firing Ryan Poles to bring in Jim Harbaugh to run everything, but you're throwing them $10 million a year. You're the Bears. You have a top, I think, 7 most valuable franchise in the NFL according to Forbes. Like, you've got the money if you want to make it happen. This guy is a proven winner as a head coach. Stanford was a dead program, brought them back, got them to some BCS games before leaving for the 49ers, got them to a Super Bowl, well above 500 record, obviously. And then at Michigan, while it took a few years to, get to the top of the Big Ten, the last 2 years, they've run the Big Ten. They smoked Ohio State the last couple of years. They're the program in that conference right now. They haven't quite broken through in the college football playoff, and that's the one thing about Jim Harbaugh that does lack on a resume. He doesn't have a national championship or a Super Bowl victory, but he's a proven winner. Like, if you're the Chicago Bears, just bring in a guy who knows how to win right now. We'll worry about championships over time here. Like, can you get a guy that can get you to the playoffs? Because if you're in the playoffs, you always have a chance. That's the reality. We've seen wild card teams win Super Bowls. Like, it absolutely can happen. So I'm very interested here. I think if you're the Bears, you got to revisit that after the season. If you do move on from Matt Eberflus, Jim Harbaugh would be very high on my list. Something that's high on my priority all the time is Gametime. The Gametime app, I'm always searching for good ticket deals, last-minute offers for concerts that my wife and I are interested in going to. We went to go see Post Malone a few weeks ago here in Dallas. He was awesome, and we waited until the last second to buy tickets, and we found the best deal available for that concert because we love Post Malone, and Gametime made it stress-free. Sometimes you're trying to get last-minute tickets with certain ticketing services, and it's not easy. It's difficult. You're trying to get the digital transfer from whoever's selling it, and it's just like it's a pain in the you-know-what. Not with Gametime. Very stress-free. Best price guarantee. If you find the same ticket on a different service, and same row, same section, and it's a lower price, you show them, they'll give you 110% of the credit. They'll even lower that price for you. That way you can get the best deal available. Gametime also shows you images of your vantage point, whether you're at a stadium, at a concert, etc. Wherever you're going to be, you're going to know exactly what your seat is and exactly how you can see the game or the concert or whatever event you're going to. Use promo code BearsChat when you download the Gametime app, which you should do right now. Download the app, create an account, plug in promo code BearsChat. That gets you $20 off your first purchase. Rolly and I have had great experiences using the Gametime app. You guys can as well. Don't stress anymore when buying tickets. Gametime's going to make it stress-free for you. Go download that app right now and use the promo code BearsChat when you sign up. Okay, how about Dan Quinn? If I'm going to go defense, I'm going to do it with a guy who's been a head coach before, and that is Dan Quinn. I think he's the only defensive guy right now that I would consider for this position. Now, there's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, he had success in Atlanta. The wheels fell off the last couple of years, but I just think there was a mental hurdle there after that Super Bowl collapse. Like, that was going to be tough to overcome. And to his credit, the year after the Super Bowl, they made the playoffs again, which was not easy. But the last couple of years, wheels fell off a bit, but he's been awesome for the Cowboys with that defense. They're arguably the best defense in the NFL. I know they didn't play well against Arizona yesterday, but still, they've been very, very good. And he's the guy you liked last time. He was a finalist when you chose Matt Eberflus a couple of years ago. So you've got that built-in connection already with people in the building. He's been a head coach before. He got the Falcons to a Super Bowl, should have won it. You wonder how things would have been for him differently after that had they did win that. Is he still in Atlanta? You feel like maybe he would be, but I definitely think he's going to get another crack at being a head coach, and I wouldn't mind it. He's not at the top of my list, but I wouldn't mind it here. Okay, how about Lincoln Riley? This one, this is where things get a little interesting for me. USC head coach, obviously Oklahoma for several years before that. Very good offensive mind. Something to consider here. The Bears currently have the number 1 pick, and you've got your own pick and Carolina's pick. So getting Caleb Williams is very much a possibility, especially if this level of poor play continues. And if you do get the number 1 pick, or if you do find yourself in a situation where you're able to draft Caleb Williams, then hiring Lincoln Riley is a fascinating discussion, because this combination, going back to Oklahoma and now at USC, has been lethal. Now, is there a major track record for college coaches coming to the NFL and having huge success? No, there's not. But we're seeing Lincoln Riley-type concepts take over the NFL all the time. Creativity, getting guys in space, mobile quarterbacks who can do everything. Caleb Williams trusts Lincoln Riley. He loved Oklahoma and left to follow Lincoln Riley because he trusts him that much. He committed to him when he was 17 years old and has been with him ever since. The guy won the Heisman last year. He took over at Oklahoma his freshman year for Spencer Rattler, who's pretty good, honestly, and led a huge comeback against Texas in a major rivalry game and never looked back. This year, he's got a 15 touchdown and no interception ratio. I mean, the guy, to quote Roley, is cracked. This is the guy you want. If you get Caleb Williams, hiring Lincoln Riley is a pretty interesting thing, if you ask me. Oh, and by the way, if you're a fan who's concerned because Caleb Williams' dad came out and said, well, depending on who has the number 1 pick, we may choose to not come out. We may go back to college for another year. We want him to be in the best situation possible. Well, if you're worried that the Bears, since they have no quarterback history, would fall under that bucket of teams that he would go back to college for, you know how you soften the waters there? You hire Lincoln Riley. That's how. So, again, he's not at the top of my list, but if you're in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes and decide you want to draft him if you're able to, then going to get Lincoln Riley is a very interesting discussion to have if you are the Chicago Bears. So we'll see what happens, but if 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks from now, you're still in position where you might get that top pick, it's certainly going to be very, very interesting. Now, obviously, in all of this discussion is the question of where does Justin Fields fit in all of this? Will he be the quarterback in 2024? Type Y for yes, type N for no. It's too soon to know right now, but if it keeps trending in this direction, I think we know what the answer is going to be. I hope it turns around for him, but as of now, not looking great for the Bears' third-year quarterback. Okay, Eric Bieniemy. Now, kind of brutal timing for this because Washington just got waxed and Sam Howell threw 4 picks yesterday. But a couple things to keep in mind. Number one, the connection with Ryan Poles, who was in that front office in Kansas City for a long time. Eric Bieniemy was on that staff for a while, running backs coach, made his way up to offensive coordinator, obviously left to go call plays in Washington because he could not get a head coaching job for whatever reason. And something to watch for here is how can he get this Washington offense to play the rest of the season? Because through 2 weeks, it looks very, very good. Obviously, it was tough yesterday. Buffalo's a tough defense for a young quarterback in Sam Howell. But 2 really good weeks, 1 not so good week. I mean, if we look up later at the end of the year, and this is a top 15, 20 offense with a second-year quarterback that was drafted in the 5th round and a pretty bad offensive line, pretty good job by Eric Bieniemy if he's able to pull that off. So let's see where things sit. I think he's going to get an opportunity at some point to be a head coach, and maybe that opportunity ends up coming in Chicago. Some other coaches to consider. Won't dive as deep into these guys. Kellen Moore. I like his offense. I don't know what's holding me back. Is he ready to be a head coach? The one thing I like about him is he's been a play caller for numerous years and now for multiple franchises. So that's appealing. Justin Herbert went 40 of 47 the other day. Now, that's just ridiculous. I don't know how much credit we give Kellen Moore for that, but that offense is humming right now. Deion Sanders, look, I want to include him because that report came out that NFL teams will be interested in him. Now, he's come out and said, I'm a college coach. I don't think I can motivate pro athletes. Now, could he change his tune on that? Who knows? I don't know. I don't think he would jump ship after 1 year at Colorado because I think Shador's probably going to go back to college for one more year. So that timing probably doesn't line up right now. Shane Waldron, the Seahawks OC, I think he's done a nice job with Geno Smith, helping him revitalize his career. That's an interesting one. Frank Smith, the Dolphins OC, I'm lukewarm on this. The Dolphins' offense is awesome, but Mike McDaniel calls the plays. He's the offensive mastermind there. That would be Matt Nagy-esque to me, like, hey, let's bring in a young offensive mind, but he doesn't actually call the plays, and you don't know how he would call the plays. That's what gives me pause there. That's why I'm more open to Bieniemy now that he is calling plays at Washington. If that has success this year, then it's like, okay, he was a high-level OC for a while with Mahomes and Reed. He went to coach a much less talented quarterback in offense and still did a nice job. Frank Smith, you couldn't say that for. And then Bruce Arians, the Bears should have hired him several years ago. They chose the wrong guy. Does he want to coach again? I kind of felt like he got pushed out in Tampa for Todd Bowles last year because Tom Brady, there were rumors that Brady didn't like Arians. Does he want one more stint as a head coach? Obviously, he's not going to be your answer for 10 years. He's older, but 5-year window where he comes in, you're competitive right away. I'm open to it if he's interested in coaching still. We know he's a very talented offensive mind. All right, who do you want as the Bears 2024 head coach? Maybe you still want Matt Eberflus. Any of you guys still out there? I'm going to guess most of you are not, but name that coach down below. Maybe I'm forgetting someone as well. Go ahead and let us know. And be sure to join us. We're going to go live this afternoon, either 3 or 4 o'clock Central Time. So producer Rolly and I will be ready to roll. So join us for that. We'll talk more about Matt Eberflus hot seat stuff. We'll take a look. I think we're ready to do a mock draft, too. Mock draft Monday. I mean, I can't believe it. We're 3 weeks in. We're already looking to 2024. But, hey, that's what we're here for. I'm Harrison Graham. Subscribe. We'll see you then.